Hello, this is Russell Medley, and this is my EDL 852 case study. So, in this case study, we saw the population and community of Lightville, which was a rural community where 60% of the population lived on farms. Due to an increase in population year by year, space in the current schools were becoming less and less, and so there was a need to try and find a solution for this growing problem. Out of the different possibilities, there could have been to do nothing. There could have been additions put onto the current schools, or a new middle school could be built um, that would house sixth through eighth grade students. Ultimately, it was voted upon and was selected that there should be a new middle school built. And with this, there was an outside hire for principal. This principal was not from the district, but she was someone who had a proven track record outside of the district. The principal's first job was to create a vision and mission statement. With this, she created an advisory team of teachers and parents. And ultimately, she wanted to have input from these different stakeholders in developing the mission and vision statements. However, the team felt that the principal should create it by herself, that they trust her judgment and would support her in whatever decision she made. But because she is new, and because she knows the importance of a vision and mission statement, she wanted input from all the stakeholders to help create this. And so now the principal is unsure how to proceed moving forward. As far as any legal or ethical issues involved, there were no legal issues that I found. There weren't any breach of contracts or things like that. One thing Mrs. Potter did that I thought kind of fit under the ethical was that she wanted involvement from an advisory team in helping make these decisions. She saw the importance of including people that this decision would affect. Therefore, I felt like she was doing what she should have done and seeking the opinions from others. Uh, the advisory team should have been educated, I felt, though, on the fact that Mrs. Potter would want input from this team before these team members were picked. It seemed that they were picked and then it was brought to their attention kind of what their roles or what their the vision of this advisory team was. One thing that it wasn't included that I would like more information on was how these current team members were picked. So, what is happening? Mrs. Potter needs to create a vision and mission statement and is seeking input from an advisory team who wants her to make the decision herself. So, in looking at this, first have to ask myself what the importance of a vision and mission statement are. First of all, it identifies the priorities of a school and those that it serves. A vision statement is where you want to be or how you see yourself in the future. Mission statements reflect on how and in what way you will get to your vision. They provide clarity to teachers, parents, and community, so stakeholders, on what education should look like in our building. And the visionary leader is someone who knows what the end goals are and the steps on how to get there. So, what are the facts? As far as the people, we know that the community was kind of divided into three factions on the issue: those that didn't want anything to happen with the schools, those that were in favor of some sort of addition, but nothing too crazy, and then those that were in favor of building a whole new school altogether. Mrs. Potter, who was an outside hire, who was not familiar with the district or area. There was an advisory team consisting of 4 teachers and 4 parents. Helen, who was selected as the chair of this committee. As far as the place, it's a Lightville Community School District. It's a rural location with 60% of the population living on farms. A new middle school was being built. The population was currently at about 1,200 people and growing by 2% each year. And the reason why was because of land costs and new schools and the fact that it was 10 miles from the city. And then as far as the program, it's a public middle school, and then it's the development of this mission and vision statement by the advisory committee. So reviewing and looking at the impact on stakeholders, doing what the advisory team would want the principal to do, would hurt the stakeholders. This would include students, teachers, and community members. While the advisory team wants Mrs. Potter to make the decisions, not all stakeholders have been consulted. More could be done to gather information from these stakeholders. This would include surveys, open forums, reaching out to different community leaders or businesses in the community. And so not enough is known by Mrs. Potter to make a decision on what that vision and mission statement should look like. So there are different options that we could go through. Option one would just be for Mrs. Potter to go with the consensus of the advisory team and develop the vision and mission by herself. Or Mrs. Potter could continue to communicate to the advisory team on the importance of their involvement and ultimately get their input. Some pros to option one is that she seems to have a strong support from her advisory team and that they are willing to support her in whatever decision that she makes. She can also use her previous expertise and experience to develop a vision or mission statement, and she has the opportunity to show off her leadership to those that she will be working with. Some cons to this option is that she is not familiar with the community or the stakeholders. There may not be as much buy-in from the teachers since they were not involved in the process of developing these. And what she puts in place may not actually reflect the priorities of the school or district. Some pros to option two is that it incorporates a collaborative leadership style, which will ultimately get more buy-in, valued input from these who are familiar with the community and those that it serves. Some cons to option two is that it's going against what the advisory team wants. Not making the decisions by herself may come across as her not being confident in making decisions, and too much input may make it hard to narrow down and come to a decision. So, what would I do? It's kind of a tricky situation because, here she is a new principal, and you don't already want to be stepping on toes or going against what the advisory team is wanting. But at the same time, as a leader, you have to step up and kind of defend what you feel is right. So I agree that it is important to put together a team to discuss and have collaboration from all stakeholders. In our meetings, we would create norms on what we want our meetings to look like. I would communicate my desire to have input from everyone in developing these vision and mission statements. I would relate to how we would want to teach in a class where we give students an opportunity to have involvement in their education, not where teachers just always make the decisions for learning. I would also collaborate with the administration from the elementary and high school buildings to evaluate what they have in place for their vision and mission. Since we're serving the same population, there probably would be a lot of similarities in those vision and mission statements. And then I would look at the data to help identify different priorities as well. If the advisory team still did not want input, I would get surveys out to teachers, students, parents, and I would look for different trends in their responses. I would get out in the community, seek out different community leaders and get their perspectives. And then I would develop options for vision and mission statements and then present them to the committee. Ultimately, what I would like to see happen is I would want to sit down with the advisory team, administration, and school board to voice my opinion on why I value the input of stakeholders in creating the vision and mission statement. And this would probably happen as soon as I was hired, so before the advisory team was even put together. I would ask to have an advisory team that wants to contribute to this if the current team did not. I would also want to have a fair and ethical way of selecting these team members. What may happen, though, is that the advisory team may still not have a desire to collaborate. And while they say they may support me, they may not if problems arise. I may also come across as someone who is not capable of doing my job. If no progress is made, I would do my best to still try and reach out to stakeholders and gather input and data to make the best decision possible. I would also maybe get creative with the advisory team and just trying to identify different priorities and needs without just laying it out there that we're developing a vision and mission statement.